Start again. I think it's going on. Yay! Sort of. You say live? Yeah.
From Del Rio, Texas, Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live Saturday, 6 July, 2013, episode 73, Who Says There's Nothing to Do? And here we are once again with another episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and I'm your host, Rob Wade, and I'm here with
Robert Garza.
And we're working through some interesting technical issues. The software we use for this podcast, XSplit, has been going through a number of beta updates, and of course a new one came out just a couple days ago, and another one out today. So we're actually you'll have to bear with us as we work through what they've kind of done to us. So we're trying to work... we've got some interesting sound challenges. As a matter of fact, if you would go over and kind of turn up the audio a little bit.
Okay.
On our, we've got in the studio here, we have a server where we can actually watch what you guys are saying. So we can tell, does it sound like it's coming through the microphones and not over like camera microphones? Cool. All right. Yeah, every time they do these updates, of course, I'm anxious because you can turn it back down. So
okay,
because I'm hearing like this echo in the room. So anyway, we can watch the effect of any changes that we do here. Now, there's a huge delay, which is where it can be really annoying. If you've ever called into a radio show or something like that, where they have a 7-second delay or something like that. And you've got your radio up, you'll almost always hear the hosts of the show getting annoyed. It's like, turn your radio down.
Yes.
Turn your radio down.
Yeah, and they'll actually tell you, if you got a TV on or something on in the background, please turn it down because they're getting
it's chasing
feedback.
The echo.
Yeah.
It's even worse with Ustream TV, which of course is where we're podcasting through. With Ustream TV, their delay gets longer with each commercial.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I noticed this. We don't really notice it while we're doing the podcast because we're in the middle of the podcast. But we also use Ustream to live stream our church services on Sunday morning. And so I got to observe that. I was working with our media department, and we're working some issues. I was kind of doing some OJT for them, etc. And I noticed, there's only about a 15-second delay or something like that when we first started off the service. And then by the time we got to the end of the service, it was like almost a 3-minute delay. It's like I watched something going on, and I was like, he did that 3 minutes ago.
Well, that's not cool.
I know, it really gets annoying. So we're kind of adapting that. So obviously, we don't want to hear the echoes in here, but it's good for us to look over at our server to see if we suddenly lose a signal or something like that. Last week, we found out too late, unfortunately, that even though I clicked on the button that tells this to start podcasting, and this actually does two things at one time, which is really cool because it saves a lot of processing cycles. You can set an option to record, or you can set an option to broadcast, and you can set them both at the same time. But when you do that as two separate settings, it just eats the processor, even as fast a processor as I have on this new machine. But when you go into your configuration for whatever channel, in this case the Ustream channel that we're using for Two Guys Who Dive, there's an option there to say record while you're podcasting, and that cuts in half the processor and memory load compared to if you set the two settings from the main menu.
Right, which is something that you had figured out we were doing during the first earlier
right, because we were just killing my old computer.
We're like, it's maxed out. Well, there you go.
Right.
Yeah, but anybody who's technical knows that any kind of update may fix one thing, but it may break something else. So, as
we're going to touch on a little bit.
Yeah, so and that's just the nature of the game. It's job security.
Yeah, exactly. Built-in obsolescence and job security. That's how they work.
Job security. That's why it's done that way, guys.
Exactly.
You really want to know? That's what it is.
Yep. They don't. It's not accidental. No. So I say all that to say, last week, when we started the podcast, it should have been recording the show and podcasting at the same time. And as far as the indicators I get at the top of the screen here, it acts like it's podcasting. It shows how many frames it's encoded.
Right.
Because it's encoding as it pumps it out to you. And then it's also recording onto the hard disk. Well, for all intents and purposes, it looked like it was podcasting. And we found out after or during the show that nobody was getting the signal. And unfortunately, but it recorded, so that was no problem. We just upload that to YouTube, so you can see it after the fact.
So we were here, last week, okay?
That's right. Even if you weren't, and we know who you are,
yes,
we're going to send the NSA after you.
Exactly. We've got copies, okay? We got email bugs.
We know exactly what you were doing.
We know who you are.
We are like that with the NSA.
Yeah.
So
Snowden is a good friend of mine.
That's right.
No, I take that back.
No kidding.
I take that back, NSA. I don't know who he is.
And they come busting in the studio and they take you away and change.
I do not know the individual, so I take that back.
I do not know that individual. But yeah, so
I was reading about that guy. Speaking of that dude, he's been granted asylum in 2 different countries now.
Yeah, Nicaragua.
Yeah, and Venezuela.
In Venezuela, we knew he was going to go to Venezuela.
Yeah, and then
even though Hugo Chavez had died.
I also read something that was kind of disturbing. That lady, the one who was the Russian spy that we kicked out.
Oh yeah,
said that she'd marry him.
Oh yeah, I saw that deal. It's like she tweeted him.
She tweeted,
"Will you marry me?
I'll marry." Yeah, that's whack.
I mean, she was an attractive woman, but but I'm like, okay, what kind of publicity stunt is this?
Yeah,
she's trying to get famous because she shifted from being clearly a spy to
not having a job at all.
Well, no, she's now doing modeling and all that stuff. So she's traded that in. Oh gosh!
Hey, well,
she traded in her 15 minutes fame for another 30 minutes or something.
There you go.
Anyway. Yeah. Sorry, we are late with the podcast today. It's been an interesting, challenging day. The title episode is "Who Says There's Nothing to Do," and we're kind of going to be bouncing all over that topic today because that's really what's been driving why we were late today, or I was late. You were actually early because.
I actually started riding my bike.
Yeah.
I rode my bike.
Well, you've been riding it.
I've been riding for a while. I just always tend to be running late, which is something that I was told I need to work on.
Yes.
So, you know what? I figured now's a good time to start. So,
and in a healthy way.
It is.
No less.
Yeah. So I rode my bike down here, and I was thinking, okay, it's going to take me a while. I wasn't unsure, but it's 5 minutes in Del Rio in a car. Mm-hmm. So it's 10 minutes anywhere on a bike.
Right.
So, I got here in 10 minutes, so I came way ahead of time.
10 minutes or less.
I actually beat I beat Rob down here, actually.
Yes, he did.
So, but it's a good thing. So there's, I rode my bike, which is something to do.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, that is a very popular pastime around here, or hobby, or sport, or however you want to call it. because the base does a lot every year. They do this
the adventure race.
Adventure race.
Yeah.
So it involves bike riding amongst other things. But I see people doing the distance riding all the time around here.
Yeah, it is really nice. I mean, Del Rio is small. It's not what you would consider a congested place.
Right.
So, like I said, anywhere in Del Rio, you can get pretty much, if you're moving on a slow speed, 15 minutes.
Yep.
Anywhere in Del Rio. So it's nice. It's a nice small commuter town, if you want to consider it that way. You can ride a bike to work.
Yep.
Which I recommend if you have that luxury.
Right.
But like Robert mentioned, the base and stuff. I mean, the guys that are over there that do that stuff, they're like hardcore.
No kidding.
Oh gosh, I mean,
they spend insane amounts of money on the bikes.
I would like to get to that caliber, but probably I'm not there.
Yeah.
I like riding, but I'm not a competitive rider.
You're not eating up with it yet.
Yeah, not even close. I mean, I do ride, but I'd rather, if I look at a bike, I'd rather buy some other stuff. But you're looking like $4,000.
I know. I was going to say, it costs more when you really go crazy with it, when you really want to do that stuff. I think it costs way more to get into the bike riding than it does into scuba diving.
It does. If I'm going to invest $4,000 in something, it's going to be in a compressor or something.
There you go. Or a super, like a full color wireless computer for the But no kidding.
Again, there are some health conscious people that want to ride bikes, and that's great.
Sure.
But just ride, not only that, it will also help the economy too, because the fuel,
Yeah.
So I think it's ridiculous paying all that for what we pay for gas. I think we should all just go on strike, ride our bikes, buy a motorcycle, buy some.
Well, if our president would just quit standing in the way of we need pipelines. There have been, I was just watching today on the news, they were talking about, all the fracking and the shale oil that has been discovered is insane amounts. It's like they estimate now, of course the estimates are what they are. They estimate that there is more oil domestically through the shale oil and fracking than is available over in the Middle Eastern countries. And the only thing stopping us is we lack refining capacity, and that's because the EPA. Oh, I hate the EPA.
Yeah.
The EPA and the rest of the federal government, both parties have been guilty of this, have slowed down or put so much restriction on refineries from starting up. It's not only becomes cost prohibitive, but becomes such a bureaucratic nightmare that people aren't building refineries. We need more refineries to access the oil that we can, not just in the United States, but also from Canada. And so we got this pipeline we're trying to get, and the EPA and Obama and the rest of the federal government is standing in the way of that. We can get to the oil. We just can't get it from where it's at to the refineries and get to more refineries. I'm like, if we got that would make us more independent. So it would be less of a national security risk, and the price would start dropping.
I wonder if that's a political thing. It's kind of like, what, you gave me money, or you did, some kind of political favor for me.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll continue dumping our money into your country.
All I got to say is Solyndra. Solyndra. There were those crawling out of the woodwork. Solyndra was the most well known. That was a big solar company that was given tons of money as part of TARP and stimulus, and then they folded. And there were others that were like this, and there's all these renewable energy sources, and I'm not against those, but those aren't where they need to be. The private sector needs to drive those things, because where there's money, that's where you're going to see acceleration. There are tons of startups every day. I was watching a show on Bloomberg television talking about women to watch, and they were talking about women in the tech industry and where they're going and everything. It was really amazing to hear their thoughts and the challenges they have. But they basically said when it comes to Silicon Valley, there's a perception there's a good old boy network and there are obstructions to women succeeding, but they said in reality it really isn't. Yes, you get the stares if you're a woman, and but generally the funding is there, the opportunities are there. It's just there's not a lot of women in tech that come in. There's not a lot of IT engineers that are women. But what I'm saying is there are so many opportunities for us to start up businesses that feed a desire, a customer base. It all comes down to voice of the customer. You know, I'm a black belt doing the Lean Six Sigma, and one of the things we talk about a lot, I try to tell everybody, leadership is customer. Understand your customer. Understand who your customer is, and then get the voice of the customer. Yeah. What do they want? We want, I'll lay it out here, as a consumer, your average consumer, I like getting to where I want to get, carrying all the stuff that I need to carry, like my trailer with all my dive gear, and me and my friends, and coolers, and all the camping stuff, going up to Valmarais. I don't want to be trying to figure out if I can get up to 30 miles an hour with my electric car towing my trailer, and then finding where the next electrical outlet is that I can plug my car into. I want to know I've got plenty of horses under the hood that are going to help me tow this trailer all 4-hour drive to Valmarais. I don't want... There is no energy source that can replace that right now. Right. Don't sell me something. Don't force me to do something, to use something, to buy something that steps me backward. If I lose capability, you've not given me something of value. Well,
my biggest thing is when all of a sudden they were like, when the EPA says, you know, or I don't think it was EPA, it was one of them said, okay, look, we need fuel economy on cars to be able to get at least 20 miles a gallon. Okay. At least. Yeah. Okay, because most trucks were at 13, 14 or whatever. They were pretty bad. They were bad. And then all of a sudden, within 4 months, Ford comes out with a V6 engine for a truck that's got the horsepower of a V8, and it'll get you 23 miles to a gallon. Yeah. Within 4 months. Yeah. Which means the technology was already there. Why are they holding off on it?
The consumer. If we demand it, you know, if you build it, they will come. No, if we demand it, they will build it. Yeah. You know, you look at what all the manufacturers went through as the prices quickly escalated. You know, we were seeing $40 a barrel for for crude oil for the longest time, and then suddenly it doubled to $80, and then it was well over $100 a barrel. And so the gas prices, refined gas prices, followed along suit with that. Okay. What happened? People stopped buying. They started selling their big gas-guzzling vehicles, and they started looking for the little Priuses and these little cars that want these little vehicles that want to be cars when they grow up.
Yeah, those little wee cars, those smart cars.
Exactly. And so that's where they were going with. Well, then they said, okay, if we want to get people to buy the bigger vehicles again, we need to step up. So you saw gas mileage has improved even more. Now it's... your average gas mileage is now over 30 miles to a gallon. Right. Whereas before, not too long before, it was 20. So let the customers drive it. And that's where you will see the innovation come. That's where you'll see businesses come up with something new, and they'll push that. Solar, wind, all of that stuff will come of age when people can get what they want out of it. But right now, there is nothing that can power my car like a gas engine. There's nothing that can get me where I want to go over the distance I want to travel between fill-ups or recharges or whatever the mechanism is to refuel, and as quickly, carrying the kind of load I want to carry. Right. The day they come up with something that replaces that, okay. And it needs to be as economical as far as the cost.
It's got to look cool too.
Well, that's true. That's true. I've only seen one electric car that actually looks cool, but it does. You know, like all the other
What
ones.
Car is that?
The Tesla.
Oh, okay.
They have a Tesla sporty version, and it looks like a miniature Corvette kind of. It's pretty sharp looking, but again, you can't get very far on it. Yeah. You know.
To me, I think these hybrid cars and everything else, I think they're nice. Will I ever get one? I don't know.
Not one of the current crop, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. I'm still, even though I like the mileage that my vehicle gets, I'm still looking.
So you're driving, what is it again?
It's a Chevy Malibu.
Okay, yeah.
But it gets me like 34 miles to a gallon, which is awesome. But I'm still looking for a truck. I think I need a truck. So I'm looking for something around that range. I don't know, some kind of sport utility vehicle, maybe kind of like, something. But we'll see, I guess, where it goes.
Right.
But anyway.
So back to the whole bike riding thing. So you found it to your advantage to...
Yeah,
couple. I need to be somewhere I can get exercise while doing it.
Right. You know what? It was kind of a nice day, even though it is hot. I just make sure I packed some hydration in my backpack.
Right.
And moseyed on out over here.
You moseyed on a bike. Wouldn't that be kind of fast for a mosey?
It was, But I figured, from here I'll just go ahead and do my normal ride and get a nice ride out of it.
Back in the day, many years ago when I was active duty military here back in the 80s, one of the airmen that worked for me while I was stationed here active duty, he and I used to be into the bike riding. So in the afternoons, typically, we would go riding all over the place. He lived up at Camino del Rey Apartments, he and his wife. And so we would typically, I would either ride my bike up to him or I would throw it in the back of the Camaro. I had a Z28 with the T-tops and it was great. I loved that car. Throw that in the back and then ride up there. And then from there, we would plot our course. We'd go all over town. We'd go out your way and everything, go up towards the lake.
Yeah.
And that was great exercise. And he was one that was really into it. I mean, he knew all the different bike brands and all the special. He had the special pedals that lock where you could lock your shoes. I mean, he was seriously into it.
I've kind of done a lot of research in this, like I do. When I got into scuba diving, was doing a lot of research with the gear and stuff, and the same thing with riding. And I think that's important. If you're going to take up an activity, make sure that you know everything about the activity that you're going into. This way, you're not shortchanging yourself. Like I have a friend. I'll change the subject real quick, but I have a friend who started the CrossFit training.
Oh yeah, and
there with the CrossFit, they're actually showing you proper technique on how to lift, so that you don't hurt yourself and stuff.
Yeah.
So he took one up and actually did some research. Found some literature and stuff. Started reading on some of the stuff just to make sure that the instructors at these CrossFit centers are actually doing the proper thing. Yeah, doing the right thing. And sure enough, at the one he goes to, because there's 75 of these CrossFit training centers now. The one he is going to is actually doing the proper training. So for him, it's great because he wants to learn proper technique. So if you're taking up cycling, there's a lot of things to do, just like anything else. There is the pedals, there's the brand of bikes, there's the weight, tire size, of course, proper, riding gear, which is like what you're going to wear, things like that. So kind of like scuba diving, there's stuff for everything. And, of course, you can go high dollar. With the gear you can buy. I mean, one bike alone can go up as much as I've seen them as high as $14,000 for a bike.
Isn't that crazy?
So I mean, that to me that's crazy. But you're looking at these high competitive racers,
because those things are like super light because they're using all the little special
carbon fiber
alloys and stuff. Yeah, they're really.
And then I actually had that question come up about 2 weeks ago. One of my friends actually works on base, and I guess her boss is one of these guys who rides these carbon fiber bikes, and he's got like a $7,000 bike.
Right.
And she actually asked me, since she knows I ride, she goes, "Well, Robert, what's the big deal?" And I go, "Trust me."
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal? Trust me. Weight has a lot to do with it. When you're going up a hill and you're lugging a bike that's an alloy frame or just even an aluminum frame bike, it weighs. Okay, it's heavy. Do that same hill on a carbon fiber bike, and all you're actually pushing is your weight, not the weight plus your weight plus the bike's weight. So there's a lot involved, and so you go up in price, and that's good for you. So, but I'm not there yet.
But you're working up to it, right?
I'm hopefully gonna get there. But I can't see myself riding,
a $14,000 bike.
No, I'd rather buy a car or.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I remember the time when you could get a really nice brand new car for $14,000.
I tell you, if I'm gonna throw down $14,000 on a bike, it's gonna be
a Harley. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I finally got my kitchen pass, but I got to find the right price, because I'm not going to buy a brand new one. I'm 50 years old, so it's like almost that's a rite of passage. You have to get a Harley.
Gotta get a Harley.
Yeah.
Now for me, I'm looking at a probably an 886 iron. Nothing too flashy. And I know a lot of the people that I know are riding like the Fat Boys and stuff like that. Those are like the high end bikes.
Yeah.
For me, I'll start nice and small. So
Sportster or something.
Yeah, small little street sports or nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Since I'm going to want Tara to ride with me on, whenever when she feels like it, I'm going to have to I'm getting the Electric Glide Classic that has the full comfort back seat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want her to ride in style and in comfort.
There you go.
Because I don't want her to have any reservations.
Yeah, no,
I want to feel like I'm wrapped around.
Yeah, when Mama's not happy, forget it.
That's it. Absolutely right. So, speaking of bikes and riding with my friend, when I think it was 85, we had all these tornadoes and everything through Del Rio. My buddy and I, we were riding. We were all over town. We were actually out by the First Baptist Church there off of Bedell, close to Bedell, by catty corner from True Value.
Okay.
And it was nice. It was kind of windy and overcast. It was very busy clouds. And this guy pulls up in a sedan. He says, "Hey, you kids better get inside, because a tornado was spotted out by the lake, and they said it's headed right to Del Rio." We're like, "Oh no!" And of course, we had to get all the way back to Camino del Rey, which of course is heading towards the lake.
Right.
So we never pushed so hard in our lives, riding all the way up through town to get up to where his apartment was. Well, we didn't quite make it. We got to we were up on what was then Avenue F, now it's Veterans. We were up there and just coming to where the car wash is. It was an old car wash then, and it's been redone since then. It had the old metal roofs and everything. And we are just on the east side of the highway. All of a sudden, hear this smack, and then we looking around, and then we hear another smack, and just a few feet in front of us was a grapefruit-sized hail ball.
Was that during the time when the hailstorm hit really bad?
Yes, that did a
zillion dollars worth of damage.
Oh my gosh! I mean, these things were going through roofs of houses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was one friend of ours who literally they were on the toilet, and it came through their bathroom right down in front of his toilet seat.
We were living pretty close to over there. We were actually, I was smaller back then. Well, not. I was younger. But I remember seeing that. We were living on, I think it's Inspiration.
Right.
Inspiration
yeah.
Way.
Yeah.
Well, we were outside, and that was before, like, the apartments and everything were right there next to the Grace Community Church. We could see across the street, and I could actually see that stuff coming.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, hey,
that does not look good.
That doesn't look good. So, of course, we started moving the cars into the garage. Thank God that we did.
Yeah, no kidding.
But some of the people that lived across the street from us, we could see their cars just being demolished. We thought it was pieces of ice, actually, when they were hitting the cars, the windshields.
Yeah.
I thought the ice is breaking. No, it was actually glass flying. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, both our cars got really, really messed up. I had the aluminum shadow louvers on the Z28, so I lost one T-top and I lost the louvers. Ooh. I mean, it was just trashed. But anyway, so this was starting to come down. I was like, man, if any of those hit us, we are dead. So we launched across the highway and got into underneath the cover of the car wash just as the sky opened up. And you talk about deafening. that kind of size hail hitting a tin roof. Oh my gosh, we were like, our ears were splitting. This old guy in a beater vehicle from Mexico had pulled in there, and he opened his doors. He said, so we got in. We're sitting there, had no way to talk to him because we were two white boys. We didn't know. No, we were just saying he was listening to the AM radio, which of course we couldn't understand either way because he was listening to a Spanish station. But we basically rode out the storm there, and it just did devastation. So it paid to be in good shape, being able to ride our bikes all the way through town to get there.
I remember seeing the when the insurance company came to look at my parents' house, the holes on the roof, on the shingles, looked like somebody got a bat and just like smacked them. I mean, it was, for those of you that lived in Delaware during that time, you know what we're talking about. For those of you that don't know, I mean, they were huge. They were softball size hail, and they came down. It was so devastating because it actually came down with no rain. It was just
exactly.
dry. I mean, these things were solid. Most of the time you get a little rain and it comes down with the hail. Not this one. This one was just hail.
All that water was soaked up into those humongous hailstones. That was crazy.
But no, riding I think is okay.
Yep,
it's not a bad thing. But one guy that actually started wanting to ride with me was like, it's funny. He tells me I'm brutal.
You're brutal?
Yeah, he goes, man, you're brutal when you ride. He goes, you don't stop. And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, yeah, you just keep yelling, you're brutal. I'm like,
you're a machine. You're a machine.
I'll be back. I took it as a compliment, but then I started thinking about it.
Absolutely.
It's not about being brutal. It's about actually pushing your body to try to, do more.
Absolutely.
You don't ever want to settle. Obviously, if you can, try to get as much as you can out of yourself and do the best that you can. So for me, when I ride, that's how I ride.
That's how I roll.
Yes, my legs hurt. My legs are in pain, but I got to keep pushing. That's just...
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and I was running late today because this has been a crazy day. Tara and I are both involved in the upcoming Upstagers show Curtains, which is a cute musical, more modern musical, and so we've been kind of just about every night is taken up with rehearsals with that show. But then also I'm a member of a contemporary Christian band, and we're getting ready for some gigs coming up. So had practice with that. Well, today was supposed to be, other than that practice, was going to be pretty much a lazy day for me. Unfortunately, I find out from my wife, who got an email from the director of the show the night before, that we were doing set building today. Of course, at community theater, that's the thing about community theater. You're your own roadie, you do sets and all that. There's a lot of work that goes into a production. And so I'm like, well, I didn't get the email because unfortunately the director used, I guess, an outdated email list. It had probably my work email, which of course I'm not at work today. So, she happened to mention it. I was like, oh, okay, well, let me head over there and help. So went over there, and of course there wasn't a huge turnout, which there normally isn't, and a lot of it was manual labor, so I can do that, and some power tools, I can do that too. So so I was working on that for a better part of the day, and then got home just in time to kind of clean up a little bit. We're getting ready for our trip next week,
right?
And then head over to practice. Just got done. Practice ran a little longer because it's been several weeks since we got together because everybody's been doing their vacation thing, and we're getting ready to do our vacation thing. So I finished that up late, and then rushed over here trying to get stuff together. But see, we get tired of hearing people that come to this area. The Del Rio is a small community. It's actually larger than it appears because we also have a lot of folks from Acuna that interact here. So, and we have a lot of unincorporated areas out by the lake, etc. But we get a lot of Border Patrol. We get a lot of the U.S. Marshals, and of course we get the Air Force Base. So a lot of those folks are transplants. You know, like me and Tara. We were brought here because of the military, and we frequently hear people who come into the area, and one of the earliest things they start wanting about, there's nothing to do here. Yep. I'm like, how? Have you seen my calendar? My calendar is full of stuff. I have something almost every day. As a matter of fact, with this show, I have no free time. None. Tara and I we each have our calendars, and then we have a family calendar that's shared. So we're constantly, just even through that, we coordinate our lives, because there's things like today, this morning, Tara was going to get her mani-pedi, or manicure pedicure, in preparation for her vacation, because she wants to look nice and really enjoy, fully immerse herself in the vacation spirit. Right. And Trish Urban also, they were both doing that. So it was kind of a girls' morning out kind of thing, which is great. I love it. But, okay, so that's something that's kind of pampering. It's something to do. Scuba diving. Troy and I went out, and we basically spent most of yesterday scuba diving, which I'm going to show a couple pictures and some video of that. We went out to Spur 54 to explore more of that. Also, I'm kind of looking for alternate places to do training, and I think I've found one that's going to be at least passable. So we met. I went and picked him up at 9:30, and we stopped by the church because he had to do some stuff at church real quick. And then we trucked it on out together and went out to Spur 54. We set up. We did 2 dives, had a nice leisurely surface interval in between. Did the second dive and filled tanks and kind of chatted, filled out dive logs, joked around about stuff. And then he was going to hook up with his family to go see, I think it was Despicable Me 2. Yeah. At 5:15 or something like that. And then I was going home to do some other stuff, of course, clean the gear and all that fun stuff that you do. So my whole day was taken up with something to do. And then today, my whole day was taken up with something to do. I worked on sets today, camaraderie with fellow cast members, the director, kind of shared my ideas about the set, then went over and practiced with Living Water Sound, and then here doing the podcast, which will run us till, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Yeah, about 9:30. Based on our previous track record. And then I'll probably catch up on some TV. But, so, look at my Monday nights now. Because of the show, rehearsals. Tuesday nights, I have practice with the youth praise team. I've temporarily canceled rehearsals with the adult team because we can do stuff. As long as I'm not introducing new music, we can meet right before church and kind of go over things there. Because I need to have the rest of my evening to go rehearse with the play. With the play. That's right, the play. Wednesdays, youth service at church. Thursdays, rehearsal now. Fridays, rehearsal now. Saturdays, maybe open, although from this point on, it's going to be set building and rehearsals. Sunday morning, church. Sunday afternoon, typically sharing lunch, or if I'm teaching a class, I'm teaching a class. And then Sunday evening, sometimes we have church, depends on what's going on. And I might have a Sunday evening off. So there's plenty to do. I mean, I'm sure you probably have a pretty busy schedule that you guys have to coordinate with. Right.
Kind of like the same thing. Monday, my son has karate. Okay. So we go to take care of that. On Tuesday, usually Tuesday, it's nothing going on. On Wednesdays, I I have to meet with the Knights of Columbus because I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Then on Thursdays, kind of kick back. And then on Fridays, usually it's the family thing.
Yeah.
And then on Saturdays, it's pretty much we kind of sleep in a little relaxed time. And then in the afternoon, we start doing laundry, start doing certain things that, they're around the house, the typical stuff. And then I come over here. Here lately, in the last, probably the last month and a half, which is, kind of explains a lot of my absences, is there's been family members coming down from out of town, birthdays, different things. The church thing that I got involved in has kind of sort of was taking up a little bit of my time, but that's taken care of. My wife actually got involved with the woman's, retreat.
Oh, yeah.
So she was having meetings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like every week just about. So that was something to do. There was, something to do all the time. And then just recently, she had summer school and I'm working. So it's just the little things like that. And then Sunday, of course, it's church. Yep. And then right after church, we kind of meet up with, friends of ours that we associate with at church. And then, of course, we do the lunch thing. And then after that, we go home and finish up and start getting ready for Monday. Right. So, and in between there, usually for me is...
and you're trying to work in your bike riding and all
well, that. Even at that, I had done it. I was starting a lot, doing a lot of writing. And then it kind of just came to a screeching halt when my wife started doing all the stuff for the church. Because she was getting home late and... I was dealing with the kids and stuff like that. So that kind of stopped here now lately. Since that's done, I'm trying to get back in the routine of that. But at the same time, I'm also disappointed because I haven't been able to do a dive, which is a big...
Troy now has outnumbered your dives this year.
That's not going to happen. I'm going to have to make up pretty quick.
You are.
But, there was a time when you and I would like drop everything to do a dive. Yeah. And it's kind of like, the other day I opened up my garage and I saw my stuff hanging there and I'm like, I started biting my lip.
It's lonely. Your gear's lonely.
So there's things that I myself have to do. The writing and everything is great, but I find myself doing more evening writing. Yeah. So I had to make an extra expense for lights. Yep. Because I don't want to get run over. So it's kind of like you dive at night, you need a dive light. Well, you ride at night, you need a bike light. Right. But that's kind of that's what I'm gonna have to start doing. So,
yep, need to get you out there because we had a great time. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and roll the video. Let me show you a couple of pictures. I was like, the interesting thing about diving at Lake Amistad is you never know what you're going to find. You dive in Governor's Landing, which puts you basically around the Highway 90 bridge and the railroad bridge. Well, a lot of vehicles, trucks with stuff piled in the bed of the truck, barely trapped down, fly out, and they end up in Lake Amistad. So you end up cruising along there on a dive, and you find umbrellas and stuff like that. Well, I'm still constantly amazed at the different places I go, what I find there. Some things are not so amazing, but just how they got there and are sitting there, just you kind of go like, oh wow, that was kind of an interesting. It was almost like it was posed there. So we got out there. We're cruising along. I'm looking for. I'm looking for a place to teach the next class, and I'm like, what is this horseshoe thing? And it's a toilet seat. I'm like, this is out by Spur 454. There are no houses around. I'm thinking, what, did somebody have like a houseboat or something? It's like, I just don't like this toilet seat, and threw it overboard or what?
That's pitiful that people throw all their junk. And now I can understand by the bridge where we've dove and we found umbrellas and stuff like that, because things do fly out of cars. But That's not gonna fly out of anything, you know. That was deliberately thrown there.
And then cruised along and saw.
Oh gosh, the evil.
You have to run. I mean, it was almost looked like it was posed there. I mean, the way they think, obviously they were trying to fish, and they got it hooked around this tree down there. But I mean, it's so funny. It just it stood out at me because that greenish yellow and the way it just kind of. You see how it's suspended. That was like, wow, that's so cool. I got to get a picture of this. But, okay, so on to some of the video. If I can get it to show here. Hello. I tell you, I'm not real happy with the latest updates to the software.
To the software. There we go.
There we go.
A little lag, but we're there.
Yeah. There's just a lot to this dive. On this dive I had the camera, and so we were kind of cruising along. And then the second dive we did, we stayed on the surface and went all the way down to the opposite end of the wall, and then descended all down to 50 feet because we wanted to keep a shallower dive. And then we just basically followed that along, headed back towards the dive flag.
That's a nice looking wall, though.
It is. It really is.
Is kind of.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So how deep does the wall go?
It varies because there's ledges. Most of the time we cruised at 50, and only a couple of spots did we actually run into a ledge. So there are areas around here that would easily go to 100. And right at about 55 or 60 is the thermal. He was in a 3 mil full. I was in a 3 mil shorty. And
did you feel it?
I was comfortable until we would kind of dip down below the thermal. You know, I'd see something I wanted to look at that looked like it might have been a cave. So I would drop down to it real quick to take a look because I wanted to keep the dive at 50. But I crossed 55, 60 feet and definitely could feel the chill. I was thinking 5 mil full for sure is what I want.
Yeah.
I wished I'd brought the camera on the second dive because we came to like a crevice that was almost like a cave, and there were 2 catfish in there, and one was huge. I mean, I'm shining my dive light on it, and the tail was, if it had spread its tail out, was easily bigger than my hand.
The only thing I don't like is all the fishing line around that area.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
Popular with the fishermen.
You know what the sad part is, as you can see from the video, there's no fish. Oh. Yet these fishermen come over there and are like, guys, I can tell you, I can't even chase fish your way. It's that simple.
You know, the other thing too is I haven't dove with Troy.
Yeah,
we haven't logged a dive, so
no,
got to go out there.
Yeah, his buoyancy control is good. One of the things that he needs to work on, and this is just something you have to have the opportunity to really practice, is just descending. I was just talking to Nick about this today, as a matter of fact.
Nick, baby,
yeah,
how's it going?
He had kind of a little bit of an incident, which we could talk a little bit about. I don't want to air his laundry, but just to kind of share hazards to be aware of. But and this is always a good opportunity for practice, is how you descend. You know, when I drop down, I can descend very quickly because I don't have any equalization problems. So when I drop down, annoying. When I drop down, I'm typically kind of stomach first or head first. And when I say stomach first, I'm usually prone.
Right.
And I have my arms kind of semi-stretched out a little bit, and my knees bent so my fins are above me, behind me, however you want to say it. Because one thing I want to avoid is kicking up silt on the bottom. And so what I'll do is make sure I'm in that flat out position, because that way I can very easily completely spread eagle and slow my descent. So I can descend as quickly as I want to down to the bottom. And then when I know I'm getting close to the bottom, I fan out, and then I'll add air to my BC and take a breath. And basically I do the little float thing. Mm-hmm. And I never actually touch the bottom, which is kind of a fun little thing to do, just to have fun. It's like you're falling and you're able to just suspend yourself over the bottom. Meanwhile, I'm with other divers who they may have good buoyancy control, but they haven't mastered the descent yet. So they're coming down and they're not quite comfortable in their own skin, so they want to be in a certain position. So they're flailing as they're descending to try and get their feet underneath them, and they're kicking, so they hit the bottom and it's all plume.
Yeah.
So the idea is to get to where you're comfortable in any position, that you don't have to be upright, you don't have to be prone, you can be upside down, whatever, but you've got a sense for what your body's doing, so that you know when you need to arrest your descent. And so that's one of the things I'm hoping to work with him on, because he's totally into it. Now that he's got his own gear, he is all.
Yep, and that's good. You see that's something that we've spoke about in the past.
Yep.
You know, a card can mean that you're a diver, but when you have your own gear, that just motivates you to want to go out there and dive as much as you can with whoever you can.
Yep.
It was the same thing. I rented gear twice.
That was enough for you.
That was enough for me. You know what? I'm like, this stuff's getting expensive and it's not mine. So I made the investment. And, man, as soon as I did, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's good. And that's awesome. I'm glad that he actually was able to get gear.
Yeah.
Because
he bought some of the used gear.
Yeah.
So he's got a little bit older computer. It's one of the Suntos.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. It's a good one, but it's one of those, it doesn't use push buttons. It's got the contact. So you have to touch the two contacts to make that work. So there's no actual push buttons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's old school, but and the dive log is only like 9 dives.
Oh.
But it's got all the features. It's got the 3-minute safety stop
and everything.
It is a good computer. And he's got one of the Sequest vests. It's one of the uses the Velcro pouches, so you got to watch those. And I told him, I said, you want to invest in at least one spare pouch in case you ever lose those.
Right.
Lose one. But his own regulator, one of the Aqualungs, one of the earlier Titans.
Yep. Those Titans were good. I mean, I trained on one of those.
Yep.
So
and so he's and it works for him. He had to find because it's an older computer, it uses one of those
different batteries, right?
It uses a half size AA 3-volt.
Oh wow!
Which is not a common one, and we actually went through a number of different batteries we thought were the right thing till we finally find the right thing. Radio Shack actually carried it.
Oh, cool!
So these were his first dives with his gear instead of borrowing one of my sets. So he was just having a great time, just kind of getting used to his own gear.
Yeah, and of course, time and diving.
Yep.
You hone in your own skills and you get used to your gear. And then, we've talked about this before. This is when you start modifying, streamlining your gear.
Yep.
You start learning what works for you, what you don't really need to have, and just pretty much working your equipment.
Right.
Your gear set up a certain way. And that's the other cool thing is when you dive with other people, you've realized how they dive. Oh, he ran into some fishing line there.
Yeah. And you can see how we dealt with it.
Yep.
So we had a couple of choices how to handle this. He could have whipped out his knife and cut it, or I could have cut it. Or in this case, I saw that it wasn't too bad a tangle. And typically where fishing line will tangle is right around the strap where it connects to your fin. So I saw that's where it was. So I made a very, very modest attempt to untangle it. If I couldn't have untangled it, I was going to get my shears out or my knife and cut it.
But you just start practicing with your gear like we were saying.
And during our surface interval while we were logging the dives, he was kind of talking about, he was mentally sharing his process of, okay, here's some things I've already been making a note that I either want to get or add to my setup or or whatever. He's talking about obviously dive lights, because these are borrowed lights that he's got. He's kind of been researching those. I'm like, good. And how the mechanism for holding his alternate in place. He likes the retractors.
Yeah,
those are a great investment. Absolutely. Number of different things that he's looking at, what he wants to add. And I kind of shared with him my rig, the safety gear that I have, because I always carry a signal sausage.
Right.
I always carry mirrors. And he goes, well, what's that for? And I said, well, if you're out in open water, you want multiple ways to communicate when your voice isn't going to be enough. And a lot of times, if it's a sunny day, you can reflect the sunlight and get somebody's attention over distance. If the waves happen to be too high for them to see clearly your signal sausage. And then we've got both the primary whistle that's attached to my BC, but then also my snorkel, because I don't always carry one. I know, shock. My snorkel actually has one built into it.
Yeah.
So I actually have a backup for that. And I also, if I'm doing any solo diving, I have my spare air, so it's totally self-contained. I'm looking at different full-blown pony bottles to get, about the 20 cubic foot size. And also I carry a second yellow signal sausage that actually says emergency. And so all these things, you think about how you want redundancy, additional gear, or just things that enhance your situation. Swapping out an alternate for a integrated second on your power inflator.
Yeah.
That's an option. Those are the kind of things you can look at.
Well, you see, and that's good, because he's already thinking about,
yes,
good ideas on how to make himself a better diver and a more efficient diver, should I say.
Yep.
And yeah, those are all good things. Of course, you want a light, because when you dive in situations, even though this was broad day,
right, you can see how dark it is.
Yeah, it's still dark. And then
plus, it's a huge overhang. It's really hard to tell here. A couple of times I do throw the camera up, looking up. But basically, the way this wall is, we're under a huge overhang. It's almost like being in a cave.
In a cave, yeah. But for me, the only thing that I need to kind of really look into now is a good dive light.
Yeah.
Because mine kind of messed up,
right.
And now I'm looking more on the LED style.
I love those.
So that's what I'm looking at. But again, it's an investment, because those
are not cheap.
Yeah, they're $100 or so. But it took time, slowly but surely, buying piece here, buying things here. So he's definitely on the right track.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Absolutely. This was kind of neat, because above us there was a crack in the overhang, and so I was blowing bubbles up there to watch the bubbles disappear into the crack, and I would be curious to see where those ended up coming out up top. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks cool. So yeah, I definitely got to go out with you guys and log a dive with the Troy man.
This is the next best place to Castle Canyon. It really is.
God, looking, it's just like endless. Just
you hear boats in the area.
Yeah. I see some potential here, Rob.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think maybe a couple more dives here, and I'll be ready to go do a night dive on this puppy. I want to check out a few more features and kind of push the depths a little bit, and definitely want to do that with experienced divers, and definitely with the 5 mil full. Look, I actually saw a fish, a little perch.
I just definitely need to find that time. And we go out there and just let's see where this thing goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe, I don't know. You say it's cold with a 5 mil, maybe a 7 mil.
Well, no, it's comfortable with the 5 mil. With the 3 mil, it definitely gets chilly. But we went down to a few weeks ago. We went down to 70 feet with a 5 mil, and I was perfectly comfortable.
You were fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfectly comfortable.
You're a little more warm-tempered than I am.
I do not like the cold.
See,
I
for
do
me,
not like the
it takes me a while to get to the cold. So when I feel cold, it's cold.
Yeah.
I remember doing a dive at the cliffs. Remember that one time we were in shorties and we went down about
that was a mistake.
That was freezing. It was
a mistake.
It was 100 feet.
See if I can fast forward a little bit here. Here we go.
Oh, just to remind the viewers here, what kind of camera are you using there? Let's throw a shout out there.
There we go. Exactly.
Do a shout out there to that awesome camera.
That's right. The Sea Life DC 1400 Pro Duo, and you can get it just the Pro, which means it has the camera in the case, but without the two lights. Mm-hmm. You can get the one that you can also get it with just the video light, which is a 3 LED light, and that's what you see lighting all this up. This is all lit up just using that light. I'm not using my regular pistol grip light. Or you can get it with the strobe, which is a big honking strobe, and it's a regular light bulb type. Or you can, all these fish hanging out here. Or you can get the Duo, which is what I got, which has both in there, so they're on two extended arms, one on either side. And it's if you get the full Pro Duo, depending on where you get it, it's anywhere from $1,200 to $1,600. But if you want good quality photographs, if you saw the podcast 2 weeks ago where we showed a bunch of the video and photographs from Balmorhea, you see in good conditions what it looks like. And I am anxious to really put it through its paces on our trip to Grand Cayman, where I'm just really excited. So you can see as we're starting to ascend here now, we're out from underneath the overhang, and you see the green of the way the fresh water is here, and it's becoming less of a wall. It's starting to slant as we move closer to the. You know, it was interesting when we finished out our second dive. Actually got us right back to where there's a steel cable that hangs off of the buoy that marks this area, and that's where we attached our dive flag to. And it actually comes out if you go out along the rock wall. The rest of it is not above; it's more of a shelf, and then it drops down again, and the steel cable actually hangs off of that and loops back up to the buoy. Actually brought us right back to where that cable was, so we were able to ascend on that and do our 3-minute safety stop hanging around the cable. I had to do the me shot. And then we surfaced, and right there, and I was able to disconnect the dive flag, and we just surface swam back to the shore and pulled all our gear out and everything.
So around what depth are we looking at right here?
Right here is about 40 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Working our way up. There we go. And I went ahead and stopped because we were gonna move up, go ahead and head up to our safety stop and chill. So, folks, if you're in the Del Rio area, I cannot encourage you enough to meet up with us when we're going out on these dives. You know, I try to post stuff on Facebook when we're going to go out and do this stuff. And I noticed somebody posting on our Facebook page that they wish they had checked Facebook more often because they would have liked to have gone on a dive with us. And as it turns out, we finished the first dive. We were on our surface interval, and this couple pulled up. They're out of El Paso, I think. They were here doing some fishing. They come down here a lot, actually. They're both certified divers. They're both advanced divers.
Awesome.
And you know, they were wondering, well, what's the dive community like here? I said, well, you know, we're trying to keep the club alive. We're trying to get people interested in diving and those who are divers to actually come out and dive. And I said, if you guys, anytime you guys are down, you just send. You know, I said, here's my card. He said, do you have your card? I said, yeah. Here's the card. Check us out on Facebook. Check out our website. Anytime you guys are coming down, if you're looking to do some diving, because you know they like to bring their boat, and I'm like, boat dives are great. Yeah,
bring it.
Yeah, I said, give me a shout or post something on Facebook when you're coming down, what you want to do. I said, we'll roll the trailer. We'll come out here. We'll do some dives. I said, this is a pretty good spot. I said, visibility is kind of crappy right now, but if you don't mind that, if you don't freak out over relatively low visibility, I said, really, this is a better place. This is the best place we've found that's shore accessible right now to go diving.
I've since this is most of the water that we dive in, or that I dive in, I've kind of gotten used to the way the visibility is. So I'm like, not a freshwater snob or whatever, or a saltwater snob.
Yeah.
But when you do dive in areas like in Balmaray and stuff where the visibility is, much better, it's 1,000 times better.
Right.
You just tend to dive more relaxed.
Yeah.
Like I can see, so I'm not like freaking out. For me, it's like, wow, it's like I can just relax because my skills have gotten so honed with little visibility that now when I can see what I'm doing, it's just like,
right,
I can actually enjoy.
Yeah, like Balmaray.
Exactly, I can enjoy it. So to me, I like diving there because it's more of keeping your skills up. We talked about that. And man, I can't even get in the water, but I so wish we could do more of the rescue diver training, to get more familiar with that. But I just got to get myself back in the water.
Yeah,
first,
you really do.
So
like I said, Troy's been he's fully fired up. Matter of fact, he starts. There we go. Oh, Midland. Troy jumped into the chat room here. They were from Midland. Oh, that's right. We still can't remember their names for some reason.
The Midlanders.
Midlanders, yeah. But the thing is deciding that you can set some time aside, and it's like planning everything else. When you've got a busy schedule, you have to just decide, I'm gonna plug this in. Troy now is fired up, and he starts a new job this week, working for Middle Rio Grande Development Council, and he's going to be working with their GPS mapping and stuff like that for the 911 system and everything. So he's excited because there's a lot of tech opportunities for him, as well as applying lean tools, lean philosophy. But that's also going to, and the nice thing is it's a typical 9 to 5 day, because he likes his weekends. So he's all fired up because now he's setting his organization, he's setting his priorities. He's going to arrange things to allow him to take advantage of this. Now he's obviously, because he's got a family, a big family, he's not going to turn the family into dive orphans or dive widows or anything like we used to do with the gaming. But he's fired up. He's got his gear. He's planning to work that into a regular part of his time.
Right.
And because he's very busy. Again, anybody who goes around saying there's nothing to do, they're just not trying, or they've got such a limited things in their life that they qualify as something to do, like getting drunk and going out to clubs.
For me, and I'm not trying to use this as a crutch or anything, but when I was actually in the classroom, it was easier for me. In other words, I had that arranged,
Yeah.
Now
your planning was
everything was
easy.
Exactly. Now, since I've gotten back into the actual law enforcement aspect of things, now I understand why people who are in law enforcement that we know don't dive very much, because you just don't have the energy. You're just tired.
Yeah.
The little time you do have, you just kind of want to stay away from anything. I just want to be on the couch watching TV and relaxing.
Yeah.
I'm on my feet all day and stuff like that. It's a little different, but for me, it's more of an excuse that I'm kind of making, and that's ultimately what it is. I have the gear. Do I have the time? Yes. The time I do have, I don't want to give it up to go do something. In other words, it's just a series of things. I think it's could be, I don't know. I think it's a lot of it is my weight, my health. To try to get back into shape, this is actually one way to do it.
Oh yeah.
So
Troy will tell you.
But there was a time when you and I were like knocking it out all the time. And I think back about that time, and it was kind of like, man, I could actually carry all my gear down those rocks and carry them back up, no problem.
But I'll tell you, I wouldn't even do it now. That's why I was like, when I had my the class weekend before last, and we went out there, and I said, we walked all the way down to the little platform, and I said, this is really almost not even safe to walk down, much less carry gear. I said, this would be exhausting. And I said, let's go somewhere else. And so we ended up going to Governor's Landing, which was much more accessible, but it was just horrible diving. So I've kind of found a halfway between at a little cove area there at Spur 54. So I think it's going to be passable, at least for the last few classes this year. But it's still good exercise, especially where Troy and I were letting in. We were both commenting, man, you get some good exercise, even though that's better than the cove right now for accessibility. It's still you're carrying, because we were typically just putting our gear on up at the trailer and then walking down with it and then walking back up with it. I said, your glutes get a serious workout. Yeah. I have to admit, I got buns of steel from carrying the gear up and down that thing.
When you do that a couple of times, when you were doing classes back to back, there at the Cove, man, that incline, that was tough.
Oh, yeah.
I would have to take a break. Remember, I was like, I'm going to rest a little bit.
Yeah.
You get tired. You really truly get tired.
But it is, that's why part of why we're so hungry at the end of the dive. And I still wish that marketplace.
Oh, God. They had awesome hamburgers.
Oh, it was great. That was and it was a nice, comfortable area, air conditioned, to just sit down and relax, kind of finish up the dive logs or other paperwork and just eat and relax. It was great.
Do a 45-minute dive and a 2-hour stay there.
Yeah.
It was great.
Awesome. It was awesome.
But yeah, definitely got to get back out there. I'm kind of making excuses for myself when I just need to just get up and get out there and get it done.
In some cases, it's one of those things where you have to just go ahead and plan that like everything else. It's kind of like, okay, there's a movie, for instance, next weekend is Pacific Rim opens.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have our dive trip that we're leaving. We're flying out of San Antonio at dark 30. So we have to decide, there's probably going to be play rehearsal. So can we squirrel in seeing that movie? If we do, it would have to be a late show. Am I okay driving us real early in the morning to San Antonio? Because that's a 3-hour drive to get to the airport. There's all these decisions. But if you have a schedule that you're balancing the wife and the kids and all their events, you kind of have to go, okay, I have to think further ahead to decide, okay, I'm going to dive 2 weekends from now or whatever it is. It's one of those things where you kind of have to decide how I'm going to plan the activities. Some people, like Tara and I, a lot of things we can kind of do on the spur. And a lot of times when suddenly a free time presents itself, we're like, okay, can I get a dive in, or can she get some scrapbooking in, or whatever it is, you can kind of plug it in. You don't necessarily have that kind of flexibility because there's always, the kids need this, or your wife's got something that she's going on where you've got to take the kids, or, there's a number of things. So you have to plan further ahead. But that's what it comes down to, is deciding, okay, you know what, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it. There's nothing I'm going to allow to get in the way of that.
You see, and the cool thing, like with me, is Sandy has always been really cool about
supportive,
it. Yeah. And the thing is, of course, there was the situation. Yeah. So I kind of had just stopped diving as much. And started devoting that, and then it's kind of like she brought it up. Actually, she's the one who brought it up. Hey, are you going to start going again? And I just need to just get back into it. The whole thing is just doing it, and I have no excuse other than the fact that it's me not wanting or having
54. Spur 454 is calling you, man.
It is.
Spur 454, where are you?
Today or the other day actually was open the garage and I saw my stuff hanging there and I kind of just like, my lips started quivering, and it's just like, she goes, well, you need to get out there. I'm not stopping you. That's what she said, Yeah. I'm not stopping you. You're stopping yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when I had that realization, like, it is me, When I had planned on diving with you guys that day, which was back in June, well, we had worked the graduation and worked late. Yeah. God, I was just dead tired. I got up and I just didn't have the strength to go. So it was kind of like, I'm done. I was just done. But now I would like kick myself in the butt is like, I should have gotten up. I think back and I was like, I should have gotten up. So ultimately, hopefully I'll get back into it again.
Yeah. Like I said, you will, the video is great, but you'll love the dive. you will really, really enjoy that dive. But you need to get a good light.
Yes.
You really do need to get a look. It was interesting when we were on this diving, you could sort of see from the video, the dramatic difference between a legacy type light bulb light, because he was carrying a Princeton Tech just like I was. Like my wife's is still the regular light bulb type.
The one that he has, was that one of your lights or is that his?
No,
light?
he borrowed that from Trish.
Oh, okay.
But it's one of the old school ones. He used a regular light bulb. New batteries and everything, but you could really dramatically tell the difference between the LED version of the same light.
Which is the one that you got?
The one I got. It's dramatically different. So I tell you. So for you divers out there looking to get lights, it really makes no sense to get anything other than really good LED light. Yeah. Whether it's the BC light, which I'm gonna be picking up some new ones of those too, or the pistol grip or whatever. Get the LED lights. They're just so much brighter.
They are.
They last longer too. The batteries. The
batteries last a long time. There are a couple of dive lights, so don't get, sucked into buying something that's really not necessary. Look around. Ask a dive buddy if you've got one. Ask us. Log on. Ask
Absolutely.
Robert.
Post it on the Facebook page. Send email to. We keep sharing that with you guys. You can email us.
Robert has gone through a couple of lights. I myself have gone through a couple of lights. Found pros and cons with the various types of lights that I've used. I've used the Pelican. Remember that light cannon that I borrowed from one of my friends? That thing was huge, but God, it had a great it had a good spotlight that it was real huge. I've been trying to find that light. It was such an old light that they don't make it anymore. So, but that was a good Pelican light. And then, of course, I've gotten used to the UK light, which is the underwater kinetics lights.
Those, was it the D?
The D's, and they have the C's. And
the D's are a monster. I mean, they're heavy, but man.
Yeah,
those are some bright lights.
They're okay, which is what I have. I have the D8, which is
you can land an aircraft.
It's a D8, but it's again, it's the old conventional light bulb. The new one, which isn't a D8 anymore, it's like a C6. But it's LED now, and it's just as bright, if not even brighter. Than my light. Uses less batteries, so it weighs a lot less. But there's a lot of things out there. So if you're looking at a dive light, not sure. Again, if you have that luxury, go to a dive shop. Ask a couple of questions. If you don't feel like you've gotten anything, ask a dive buddy or
Twoo.
Just get with us.
Yep, we will take on all comers. We will answer all questions. We're kind of like Radio Shack, except we actually have good answers. Their commercial used to be.
Oh, and if you're looking for a primary dive light, it's either going to be a lantern style or a grip style type light. So I'll leave you with that.
Well, there are the wrist kinds that that tech divers use because it frees their hands up to do stuff. Those are your most expensive ones because those are canister type, which means they have the light attached. It's usually a band that wraps around your hand with the light mounted there, and a cable that runs up to like a belt or BC mounted battery pack.
Yeah,
and those are great. Of course, I always kind of worry about the cable for those, but I tell you, there's something about being able to have both hands free and still have a really bright light shining on whatever you're working with.
But you're like those type of lights, and they're around $1,400, maybe $1,500. But you're talking about like 14,000 lumen. I mean, it's like having a car light.
Don't dare shine that in your buddy's face, or they will be blinded for the rest of the dive.
Tell me about it.
All right, let's go ahead and hit our administrivia real quick. All right, so next Del Rio Dive Club meeting coming up on 18 July at 7 p.m. at Rudy's Restaurant. Great food there.
Nice baked potatoes.
And if you're smart, you'll be like Scuba Bob and bring your Sweet Baby Ray's.
Sweet Baby Ray's.
Although I like their sauce. They have the sissy sauce too, which my wife likes, but and I like their full flavored sauce, but and we use the Sweet Baby Ray's at home.
Yeah.
But Scuba Bob brings his own little container with him.
You know, the baked potato there with the Sweet Baby Ray's and the lean brisket inside the baked potato. Oh, my gosh.
It is good stuff. Good food. Yep. Balmorhea State Park trips July 19th to the 21st, August 16th to the 18th. And basic scuba classes July 24th through the 28th. And August 25th through the 25th, and September 26th through the 29th. And also, you can connect with us, interact with us via our Facebook page. Just go out to Facebook/Del Rio Dive Club, or you can send us messages. We like those messages. And but we cannot vouch for whether or not the NSA will be tracking you if you contact us that way. But you can send us messages to Two Guys Who Dive, because if you haven't noticed, Skype is now fully integrated. They've absorbed Messenger, so now that is the way to communicate.
Skype.
Which I'll share just a moment about that here in a second. And then also visit our website, delriodiveclub.com. Speaking of Skype, I noticed with the latest updates to that when I am sending, if I want to send a message to somebody in my contacts, it's pretty cool. Used to, you could send, let's see, let me pick Troy as a matter of fact. Troy McGonigal. Matter of fact, it even says this. I probably wonder if I could do that. Let me see if I can do this. This is pretty cool. Text Troy McGonigal. Can't really hear it because I had the volume down. It says texting Troy McGonigal, Skype or mobile.
Wow.
So I'll cancel that. But so I was like, wait a minute, what? I noticed that after one of the latest updates to Skype, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? I had to do it again because that's got to be an accident. So they fully integrated it now, so I can voice text somebody to Skype or to just regular SMS. I'm like, they're slowly bringing all of this stuff together. I'm like, that is too cool.
Yep. And Troy's saying I'm a sleepy baby.
Oh, were you yawning?
I don't know. Was I yawning?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Maybe I was, or maybe I don't know.
I said, when are we adding Scoob Mac to the social media contact info?
Scoob Mac.
Is that his Scuba Mac?
Scuba Mac. Is that his name? I'm Scuba Bob. You're Scuba Dog. He's Scuba Mac.
You need to. If you're going to be added this, we need to expand it to Three Guys Who Dive, and you need to be more regular.
Three Guys Who Dive.
That's hilarious. But anyway, I thought that was a pretty cool update. That totally, and there was no heads up that was coming.
Oh, that's cool. Something they snuck in there.
Yeah, kind of snuck in there as they move things together. I'm still getting used to the changes in Windows 8.1. Totally loving it. Finding a couple of, one minor flaw that's kind of an annoyance, but as far as pinning things to the start, but loving it so far. I just Troy had finally, he updated one of his machines to 8.1, and then he updated one of the other ones, and he got to see in action how it then, within just a few minutes, it synchronizes even your start screen. It moves it, and it will automatically, you can disable this, but it will automatically install apps that were on one to synchronize it with the other. So if I install, I only have to install it one place.
Yeah.
And then it'll install everywhere. I'm like, cool. This is awesome.
This is something that we used to complain about when I was a technician is, doing like updates for
300 machines.
You have to go out there and physically touch all the machines. So how do you do it? And of course they brought in all kinds of like servers to try to do the same and all this, to try to update all at once. And then the ultimate deal was they brought in those little boxes. What are those little terminal boxes?
Oh yeah,
like the banks use. So you only update the server and it pushes it out to all the devices. Yeah, good and bad. For me, the touching of all the machines I think was the best. Although it was a pain. Yeah. Especially when you have like a lab full of computers that you have to touch. But still, I preferred that over, those terminal services, those terminal boxes, because when the server goes down, they all go down, as opposed to, okay, well, one machine's not working, not a problem, move over to the next one.
That was the old thin client. But now with software as a service, that is becoming... that's becoming the norm now. That's where really Microsoft is really pushing stuff, and now that's where you see Troy saying, "You sleepy baby," based on your explanation of not showing up for the dive that morning.
I was tired. I really was tired. Ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't so much of an excuse, more than my lack of will to just want to get up. I just didn't want to do it. It was just one of those days that you just wake up, and I don't know if you ever have these days to where you just don't want to go to work. Every day. You have to. You have to.
That's happening every day with my current job.
Yeah, you have to, but there just comes that one day that's like, I really just want to relax.
Yeah.
And that was that day. Unfortunately, I had something planned, and I let down a lot of people. So my apologies to everybody who, you and Troy and everybody else that should have been there. But ultimately, there's no excuse other than the fact that I just didn't have the willpower to get up. So don't worry, Troy. We'll hit the water sometime soon.
But anyway, back to what we were talking about. The ability to do one thing on one device and it starts to mirror itself across others really comes in handy, especially for a network, but just as an individual user who happens to use multiple devices. We've talked about this before. For me, I'm already fully enjoying totally ubiquitous access to my data. When they went to Office 2013, I basically went ahead and did the subscription to Office 365. So now we have access on 5 machines for that subscription to Office 365. It makes it so much easier, and they do all these updates to it, and you can still use things offline.
Okay, the 365 or whatever, you buy the subscription, right? Yeah. So it's like because I'm still running the old version of Office.
The client version.
Yeah. But is it like, are you paying for the license, or is you only pay for one and you're able to access it on multiple devices?
For instance, I use my account, so I log in, and I say, okay, I'm purchasing this license. I'm purchasing the subscription. I'm subscribing to Office 365. Now, basically, there's a little applet that you install. You log in, and from the device that you want it installed to, and it throws that applet on there and basically puts all of your stuff on the start screen there. So it's now available for anybody who uses that machine. So it's not tied to you, other than you have basically granted... What in the world? Is that fireworks?
I think so.
These stupid kids. I wish they would outlaw fireworks. I hate them. The idea is you've subscribed to it, and you're now granting permission for a workstation based on the computer name to access Office 365. So on our main studio computer, on this laptop, on my work machine over there, on Tara's laptop. It's now accessible. So she's using it logged in as herself. It's just that I've granted permission for that workstation to be one of the... And you can go into the website and you can see all the workstations you've allowed, that you've allowed it. So you could get the subscription and put it on your machine, so Sandy could access on her machine, and she wouldn't have to...
So it's not like in the old days, like, you can only put on one machine, and then you would need to buy another one or another license for another machine.
Interesting, you should bring that particular question up. Troy says to let you off the hook. I guess the delay must be really huge.
Okay. Well, thank you, Troy.
Prior to 2013, you could install Office on one computer and one alternate device. Typically, it was a desktop and a laptop.
Right.
You were allowed to do that as long as you weren't using them at the same time, which most people aren't, although we are.
Yeah.
With 2013, because of the Office 365, you no longer can do that. If you buy the full client, you get to install on one device, and that's it. Period.
Oh, wow.
You can't even transfer it. So they make it obviously more attractive to go with the Office 365. Because ultimately, it can cost you less than, given their typical refresh cycle or update cycle for Office, it can ultimately cost you less because your annual subscription is across 5 machines instead of you having to buy 5 copies or 5 licenses.
Right.
That you'd have to buy again every time there's a new version. Well, Office 365, as long as your subscription is current, you get whatever the new version of it is. Now, having said that, they keep expanding the features on the free Office products that are accessible if you have an Outlook.com account. So when you log on, you want to log on with your Outlook.com account, you get Word, you get Excel, you get PowerPoint, you get OneNote, accessible for free. And they keep adding more features to it. As a matter of fact, they just added the ability to edit PDF files.
Oh, that is cool.
I was like, what? Wait, what?
There you go. Now you don't need to buy the full version of Acrobat.
Thank you very much. Because I hate
like
Adobe.
$200.
I know. I hate Adobe anyway. I just hate them. But so many forms and documents have been created in PDF.
Yeah.
So you can edit PDF documents.
I kind of liked PDF files when it came to certain things that I would create, like documents and stuff, because I could lock them down, send them to people using PDF. They could print them, but they couldn't edit anything that I had created, which was okay. But I would get a lot of that stuff too, and they were like, "Well, go ahead and do this." And I would want to use for example, a form, and I shouldn't even be saying this, but I would want to use a form, but I would want to tweak it to my standard.
Absolutely,
I couldn't do it because I would need the full version of Adobe in order to be able to modify it.
Right.
Well, that's awesome. I'm going to have to look into that.
A late appearance by Grace, huh? It's the podcast. Hi. You say anything to me? Guess not. Just don't bark in the microphone. That would be deafening. That would be deafening. Okay, so as golly, it's already quarter. What were we saying? 9:30, 10 o'clock?
There you go, 10 o'clock.
Okay, so anyway, if we would love to hear from you, would love interacting. Troy's in the chat room there with us. We'd love to interact with you. We encourage you to join us when we do the podcast live. Again, it's something to do. There are plenty of things to do. If you decide to go and do, you will see Troy and I tweet frequently with the hashtag go and do. He was enjoying
I was going to ask you about that because I didn't know what that meant. Go and do. I kind of figured it was something that had to do, so I was going to wait to ask you.
And that's kind of what was leading up to the title for today's podcast, is the idea that there's something to do if you go out and do it. If you just sit around getting drunk in your dorm room or your house or going to a club and then all you do is you don't even remember what happened the night before. There are plenty of things to do. 4th of July, we had, they were going to have the parade. I don't know why that was canceled. That was even
actually, the parade was canceled because they actually did a 5K run.
Oh.
Down by the San Felipe Creek walk.
Yeah.
So what they did was there was more push for that. So a lot of the supporters, and this is what I read in the paper, a lot of the supporters that normally back the parade started backing the run, and apparently there was like almost 400 people doing the run.
Something to do.
There you go. And I've noticed this because Sandy actually brought this up, is that she's noticing that there's a lot more running activities going on now.
Yeah.
You had this one for the 4th of July, and I'm sure since it was a big turnout, they're going to do it again next 4th of July.
Absolutely.
Then you have the adventure race.
Right.
There's cycling. There's scuba diving. There's, the occasional you want to hang out. It's not a big town, so you're not going to get a lot of stuff. And there's even theater here.
Yes.
There's plays that go on all the time.
Yep.
There's musical shows like the Ram Band and stuff like that will put on shows at the Polk Polk Theater.
Yep.
There's things to do here, so don't automatically think, my God, this is a boring town.
Yeah, Troy and family, they went down to the creek and checked that out. Then they went over. They had all these booths and everything that they checked out at the amphitheater. And of course, fireworks, which I'm not a fan of fireworks at all. But again, things to do. What's going on this weekend? We got a rodeo. Again, not something that I am into at all.
But it's something to do. If you want an activity to go, the rodeo is a big thing. Then, there was the bass tournaments that we used to have.
Yeah.
The lakes, problems with that.
Yeah.
But we do have little things like that. Even if you're into firearms, they have the annual or the monthly shoot or whatever. I know you used to get a lot of publicity on the...
one of the guys that works with me out the base, he and his wife are competition shooters, and they talked about this thing. I thought he was kidding at first. So he talked about this thing called a zombie shoot. Yeah. I'm like, a what? And basically, is they have
the targets are zombies.
It's hilarious. I'm like, that is just too fun.
They have that. They have the archery.
Yes.
That still goes on around here at some of the hunting areas.
Yep.
They have. There's just a slew of things. You just got to kind of look around and ask.
Exactly.
And it's there.
Get in contact with people. Network with people. Contact us if you want to get involved in a number of these things. I mean, this is two guys who died, but as you can see, we talk about all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. If you want to get into the bicycling thing, contact Scuba Bob.
Yeah.
He'll share with you every bit of knowledge that he has and experience with do's, don'ts, pluses, minuses, theater, tech, diving, all of that stuff. We'll help you get involved.
There's we're pretty well-rounded people, so we have a lot of things that we do, but we need your help in helping us get the word out. So please.
Troy's saying in the chat room they actually maxed out the applicants for the 5K. It was a paint run.
Yeah, they painted themselves up. That's correct. They painted themselves up with just normal paint, so they were all covered with paint. It looked pretty neat, though.
Wow.
But there was a bunch of people doing it. I know that
500 plus people.
Yeah.
They were turning folks away.
It was crazy.
It's amazing.
It was crazy. So it's only 3.2 miles, I think, is a 5K, something like that. People did it in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's something to do.
I'm into the low impact stuff. Although really climbing up and down a steep hill with scuba gear is not quite in the low impact.
I think that'd be in the high impact category.
Or at least medium impact.
Yeah.
But so speaking of contacting us, if you want to get in touch with Scuba Bob, you can send him an email to rsgarza821 at yahoo.com or follow him on the Twitter. At rsgarza435. Or, of course, you can send me an email at robert.wade at setifox.net or follow me on Twitter at robertcfp. And, of course, we shared with you earlier how you can contact us as a whole via our Facebook page or jump on our website, contact us there, or send us a message through Skype, Two Guys Who Dive. And as always, we really love doing this show. Next week is going to be interesting because we may or may not have an episode since Tara and I will be
away
in Grand Cayman. Depending on when our flight gets there and how good the internet connection, because we are going to be on an island, of course. I will have my new laptop, which actually does a pretty decent job of podcasting, because I use it at church. I'm going to attempt to do the podcast from Grand Cayman next Saturday.
There you go.
So it'll be pretty cool. I will try to. Of course, we'll be using international rates and all that stuff. I will try to get word to you if it looks like it's going to work. If so, maybe you can at least jump in the chat room. We can interact
definitely.
That way. We'll see how that... And we definitely encourage all of you out there, too. Again, I will be posting as quickly as I can once we get there to see if the connection's going to be decent enough. I have no idea what kind of internet that they have down there.
I guess we'll find out in a week.
So,
and then the following week, I go on vacation.
Where are you going?
We're going we're taking the boys to Fiesta, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was telling Tara about it. So kind of not so much a vacation, because when you have kids, you really don't relax.
Right.
It's more of a, you're so on edge, because they've got you. They're always fighting with each other, so they got you on edge. So my vacation starts when we get back.
Yeah. Well, and as it turns out, because we're going to be getting back so late on Saturday, because we have to fly into San Antonio and drive all the way back. There's probably no chance that we'll get back in time to do a podcast on the 20th. So we will definitely not be doing one there. If I could pull it off, I'd probably be so exhausted I'd be falling asleep on the microphone.
No, it's that would be depriving our audience of a good show.
Yeah. We don't want to do substandard shows. We're doing everything we can to slowly improve the show here, because we're now in HD. So we're having a great time. So anyway, that pretty much exhausts us for our 2-hour episode. And
we made up for next week.
So God willing, and air flights willing, and internet service willing, we will see you one way or another next week on another episode of Two Guys Who Dive.
Good night.
See ya.